Hey guys, so today we are going to be building some wheel cribs for the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. As you know, the Giulias don't have an easy way of getting all four wheels off the ground without purchasing some expensive lift systems or some specialty jacking systems. I did see that Race Ramps does offer wheel cribs that will work. Those are about $200 to $500 depending on the size you need. So instead of that, I went out to the local hardware store and got some planks of wood that will cut down to size to build our cribs. For this, I bought 8 2x6. You're gonna need 8 2x6 pieces of wood. I bought a little extra, but 2x6 and 4 feet long. Same thing for the 2x4s. These are gonna be 4 feet long also. That way they fit in the trunk of the Giulia for wherever you need to transport them. Some of the tools that we need are gonna be a saw, some gloves, eye and ear protection, the tape measure with a marking tool and a right angle measuring tool. I got 2 pounds of 3-inch wood screws and a drill. Our wheel cribs are going to be 2 feet long and 1 foot wide. This should accommodate the large rear wheels of the Quadrifoglio. We're going to be cutting the 2x6 to 2 feet long lengths, and then the 2x4s are going to be about 1 foot long. Unfortunately, I can't cut these in my current space, but my neighbor did lend me his work table where I'll be able to clamp these down and cut them to size. Before I head over to my neighbor's house to get these cut up, let me show you the measurements for these. Like I mentioned, the 2x6s are going to be cut into 1 foot lengths. So this is going to be the width of the wheel cribs. So we'll go ahead, put our tape measure, mark off every foot. And we'll do that on these 3 right here. I'll do the rest off camera, but just to get these 3 going here, get that marked up. Last one. All right. So with those marked, now we can use our right angle tool and go ahead and draw some nice straight lines on our 2x4. Make sure we get some accurate cuts. Go ahead, put these aside. And then for the 2x6, we're gonna go ahead, and these are gonna be 2 feet long. So halfway, we'll get this. All right. Let me go ahead, get these cut to size, and I'll show you how to assemble them. Hey guys, so the SD card failed during the build process of the wheel cribs. I swapped out SD cards, so hopefully you can still catch the last build of the crib. So to go over what I've been doing, hopefully I'll be able to recover some of that footage, but in case not, for the wheel cribs, we are laying down 3 pieces of 2x4 over 2 pieces of 2x6, and then we're doing 4 layers of wood to give us an 8-inch lift. We'll be also chalking up, these are 2 feet, but we really only need about 20 inches. The wheel will sit in here, so this should give us a good chalking point on the wheels and also prevent any issues with tipping over the crib, since we have a bit of an extra lip here. To get started building these, let me move these out of the way. So 2 planks of 2x6 cut into 2 feet, and then 2 planks of 2x4 cut into 1 foot pieces. We'll go ahead and grab the 2x6. Lay down 2x4 on top of it, and then I'll go ahead and add some reinforcement screws to make sure it doesn't move around. So try to line up right in the middle of the 2x4, and then just give it a little tap to make sure I get that started. I'll also, I don't have a workbench, so I'm just gonna put some pressure down with my foot. Now, where you're nailing or screwing it down, if everything's cut square, just make sure that everything's lined up, and then with some pressure so it doesn't move around. Right. So then we'll go ahead and do the other corners. Now, because we just nailed down the corners, if enough force is applied, you can still move this diagonally. So we'll go ahead and add some additional screws in the other edge of the 2x6. And this was gonna be on both of them. So this gives us another point into the wood to keep it all straight. So lastly, we'll go ahead and do the middle block here. For this one, we don't need as many screws, as these are already holding down that section, keeping it square. So we'll just put one screw that's gonna land right in that middle of that 2x6. Same thing, you want to put some force on that so it doesn't come up. that over and do the same thing on the top side. Now this time, what we will do, since these are 3-inch long screws, if we put the screws in the same spot, and I mean the edges we looked at before, there's a chance that they can collide, since they go about halfway into the wood. So what we're gonna do here is now run a different arrangement where we will put just a middle screw on these edge pieces, and then we'll put 4 screws here in the middle piece. So we'll go ahead and start here with just this edge, and this isn't going to move around anymore since we already nailed down that first layer. So we'll go ahead and make sure that stays squared. Put some pressure on it so it doesn't move. So for the middle piece, again, I'm doing 4 screws, so I'm going to start off with the edges. Alright, that's our 3rd layer, and now our 4th. So you should see, once you square it up to the top, if everything has been going well so far, you should still see a foot on both sides. Didn't give enough of a gap there. Go. Perfect. And perfect. So what we'll do now is, because we have a screw right there in the middle, we'll do the edges of these 2x6s, and then for the middle plank, since we have screws on the edges, we'll just do one right in the middle. So since that's the case, I already have the gap where I need it to be. Just to confirm, that's a foot, and that's a foot. So with it being right where I need it, I'll just go ahead and screw these down right away. Alright, so this is our final height. The next part is we'll put the 2 chocks of wood to make sure the wheel doesn't roll around up here. And like I mentioned previously, we are keeping an edge on either side just to prevent any sort of tipping over. What we really just need is a length of 20. Almost. Perfect. So for these last 2, we just need 2 screws on each, just in the middle there of that 2x6. I'm gonna make sure we keep that squared. So again, we'll put some pressure down. Right, so this wheel crib's already done. We have the screw heads exposed down at the bottom, but if we needed to add an additional height, the next step would be some 2x6s with the nails obviously alternating, just like we did for the top section. I'll go ahead and now test all 4 of these out. Okay, so it's the next day here. I've switched out the car, so the car's in the garage. As you can see, it's a pretty tight space in here, but I'll show you how in this space I can still get the car onto the wheel stands. Okay, so before we start jacking the car up, we want to go ahead and make sure we chalk up the back tire as well as our front tire. I have already a parking spot marker there that should keep the front wheel in place. So then on the passenger side, we'll go ahead and get our jack over here and look for those jacking points. So we'll get down on the floor and make sure we look for that. You can see there's our front jacking point. So let's go ahead and get our jack under there. All right, so you're gonna want to lift up, make sure that's centered. Now that's good, so we'll go ahead and start lifting the car. Brought the first wheel crib. We're gonna slide that right under. Make sure it's centered on that wheel. We can start to slowly lower the car down. All right, so you can see the first tire is up. Now we'll go ahead and work on the rear. As I showed, the jacking point's right there. So that's pretty high off the ground. So we'll go ahead and grab our second wheel crib here. Make sure we slide that under. Make sure it's centered so you can see that's pretty good on there. All right, so we can start lowering our jack slowly. Make sure that lands right on there. Perfect. Perfect. So you can see that wheel fits perfectly in that size. So now we'll work on the other side of the car. Okay, so like I showed, my space is pretty limited. I just showed you how to do it on the passenger side. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing here on the driver's side. All right, so as you can see, I'm able to get all 4 tires onto the wheel cribs. And now, if I needed to, I can go ahead and get under the car and work as needed. This is plenty of space to get things in and out. However, I may still want to add the last planks of wood and give myself an extra 2 inches of clearance there. But this is a good start.